What's up everybody, I'm Bobby with Tech360.tv and we're back with another first impressions video of a phone that was just announced. We've had it in the office for a few days. It is the Huawei Mate 20 and Mate 20 Pro. We haven't been able to take these phones out of the office, we weren't allowed to, and the software isn't finalized, so I'm not gonna give you a full in-depth hands-on impression on it. I'm just gonna give you my initial impressions on it. So yeah, let's get down to it. First and foremost, we've got the Mate 20, which is the lower end of the two versions. It has more of the conventional size to it, and it's got the new back, which we have the camera housings in the kind of a square shape there, which we saw in the leaks. Well, it is true. And it's got a very interesting texture to the back of it, which I'll talk about in just a bit, and the fingerprint reader on there. And of course it has the notch, which is a small little notch actually. It's kind of like the Essential phone. It's a small little notch. I kind of like this notch, the baby notch we're gonna call it. But then we get into the Mate 20 Pro, which is the flagship. Maybe look at that. Very different form factor. But we go to the back, still the same as the Mate 20. You've got the square housing with the 3 cameras and the flash in it. No fingerprint sensor in it because the fingerprint sensor is underneath the screen, like the Mate RS. And that's pretty much as it looks on the outside of it. Let's get into the internals of this phone. First, inside of it, we got the Kirin 980 processor in it. It's the new 7nm chip. Talking about storage, we have 128 gigabytes of onboard storage, expandable to 256 gigabytes with Huawei's nano memory card. It's something new that Huawei's designed. It looks like a nano SIM card, but it's actually a memory card. Then you also have 6 gigabytes of RAM on this. So it's pretty decent. Talking about the battery though, for the Pro, got an impressive 4,200 milliamp battery in this. For the size and that kind of battery, we're looking at some impressive battery life, or should be at least. Now on the Mate 20, it is just 4,000 milliamp battery. So it's a bigger phone, lower res screen, but smaller battery. So maybe it all balances out. All right, let's talk about the displays on these phones. Now they're two different displays because they're two different variants of phones. The Mate 20 is the lower end of the bunch, but we're gonna focus on the Mate 20 Pro. It has a 3120 by 1440 display, which is roughly about 2K. Talking about the aspect ratio though, it is very unique. It's a 19.5 by 9. That has a bit of a question mark on it, why Huawei decided to do this. Maybe it was because of form factor, maybe it's easier to hold. It is easier to hold, it's actually quite slim to hold, and it doesn't feel like a big display, but this is going to be a challenge for some app developers out there, so we'll figure out how that works in the long term. But in terms of the display, it is beautiful. It's got a curved display to it. It looks like the Mate RS. If you haven't seen the Mate RS, it is very reminiscent to that, or let's say the Samsung Galaxy S9 or the S8. It has a very similar design form factor to that, but it does have a bigger notch. Speaking of the notch, we have a new front-facing camera to this, which has a 3D facial recognition. So it's supposed to be close to what Apple's doing. As far as the camera goes, it's a 24 megapixel f2.0 front-facing camera. Now, I had some issues with Huawei's P20 Pro camera and the Mate RS camera. How will this front-facing camera hold up? Later on, we'll find out in the full review, but as of right now, let's see if it really maximizes the 24 megapixels, because I felt on the other ones, it didn't quite do that. Okay, but now we gotta talk about the back and the cameras on this. We got a 40 megapixel, 1.8 for the wide angle lens. You got a 20 f2.2, then you've got an 8 megapixel f2.4. So they're touting this as the best cameras that they've ever put into a phone. And by the numbers, it's pretty impressive. And if it does even as close as the P20 Pro or the Mate RS, then you got yourself a winner here. And I'm sure they've actually even bettered it, because that's what Huawei said, they bettered the cameras on this. But again, since the software isn't finalized, we're not gonna run it through its full paces, but just initial impressions, images are quite solid. And of course, they're Leica cameras in the back of this. Now, they have this super macro mode, right? Which means you can take the camera and you can actually zoom right in on something. You can really get some beautiful macro shots if you wanna watch. It just adjusts itself. It says super macro mode on the screen, the AI kicks in and you're good to go. Now with video now, you have a lot of different options. You can do background blur, you can isolate colors, you can have all these different filters on your video now, and it does face tracking. So it actually tracks the person wherever they're at, so they're always in focus, which is quite cool. Let's talk about the colors on this. Huawei's really been doing some cool things with colors, and you're seeing something different on this as well. Now, with the Mate 20 Pro, you got 3 color variants that are coming out, in our market at least. It's the emerald green, which we have here. You have the Twilight, which is very popular in the P20 Pro, and then you have the black. Now on the Mate 20, you've got the midnight blue, which is really beautiful, and it's a very masculine blue. I'm gonna call it masculine blue. It's really nice actually. And you got the black as well. But you gotta go for the different colors. Don't go black, come on. Black is so boring. Go with the green, go with the blue. I actually like the green a lot. Talking about the back of it, you're gonna notice there's an interesting texture and it makes a sound. You can hear that on my mic, right? It kind of reminds me, remember those old little 3D decals we used to get, or the holographic decals we got when we were a kid, right? It's kind of like that, but with nanotechnology, because Huawei's used some nanotechnology to cut these little grooves into the glass to make it slip resistant. How does it work in real life? I don't know, but it does feel a little bit more grippier in the hand, and it's actually quite cool. That doesn't mean it's scratch resistant, it's all glass, but I kind of liking that. And it's the same with the Mate 20 as well, see? You can like scratch our phones now with Huawei. It's interesting, like a little DJ thing going on with that. All right, speaking of that, let's talk about the charging of it, because there's something new that Huawei's put into this phone. It is reverse wireless charging. You're like, huh, what is that? Let me explain. So basically, I put my phone down. I can now charge another device on top of the phone. So I have an iPhone XS Max, which has wireless charging, and it's charging my phone. That's right, it's charging my phone on top of the Huawei phone. Now, in theory, this is interesting, but I have some questions about this one. First off, I hate putting my screen on the table because it can be prone to scratches. Second off is, it doesn't work with, it has wireless charging, so I don't know, if I put like an Apple Watch on there, it doesn't charge it. I don't know what products Huawei's coming out with that will take advantage of the charging. Maybe they'll announce it when this video comes out. But I don't know why we need reverse wireless charging yet. I'm not sure. It's cool. Why do we need it? Maybe Huawei will let us know. But there, you can have two phones in your pocket and charge them at the same time. That's basically what I'm using it for. That makes sense. Also on both of these phones, just to let you know that they're running Android Pie, so they're running the latest version of Android, and it does have Huawei's EMUI skin to it, but it's they're doing better with the skins. They're toning it down, so it's more stock than not. But I wouldn't mind a pure stock version of Android on this phone, just to put that out there, because it is a really beautiful phone, and stock Android with Android Pie looks really good. So maybe that'll come in the future, who knows? Anyway, here's my final thoughts on both of these phones. The Mate 20, I have a question as why Huawei released the Mate 20, because the P20 Pro in some ways has better specs than the Mate 20, minus the processor, so jury's still out on that. But when we get to the Mate 20 Pro, which is the phone I'll be focusing on, this reminds me a lot of the Mate RS in a very good way. That was a fantastic phone, one of my favorite phones of 2018 thus far. So let's see how the Mate 20 Pro handles and holds up to that. Anyway, any comments or thoughts you have on these phones, or any questions you have on them you want us to answer, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Please, we want subscribers. We love you guys. Love us back. Click on that red button. Follow us on Facebook. Until the next one, take care.